It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
At what point, though, does this pain become too much in terms of the cost of the shutdown? And when are Democrats going to show some flexibility on this?
Well, I listened to the vice president, and he's just not living in reality. Because there's no negotiations happening right now because Republicans are boycotting those negotiations. They are boycotting negotiations to reopen the government because they are desperate to raise premiums on people in this country by 75% in order to finance their tax cut for the wealthy. Their only priority is protecting the billionaire class and the corporate class. The other reason the House of Representatives isn't in town right now trying to reopen the government, because they are about to have enough votes to pass a resolution mandating the release of the Epstein files. So J.D. Vance and Donald Trump's number one priority is protecting billionaires, protecting corporations, and raising premiums, raising healthcare costs by 75% on American citizens. So yes, I think that Democrats should say, if you want our votes for a budget, it can't be a corrupt budget. It can't be a budget that is going to devastate the lives of middle-class families in this country in order to protect and reward billionaires. That's a pretty reasonable request.
You're talking about premiums that will increase an average of about $1,000, I believe, for those who are using some of these.
Well, that's the
healthcare
average,
programs
but in Connecticut, some families will see a $25,000 increase in premiums. And again, in order to afford a $270,000 tax cut for the richest families in this country.
Because also it wasn't dealt with earlier when Democrats were in leadership here. But you did hear the vice president say when it came to health care, the administration's open to a discussion. We want to lower insurance premiums. That was a quote there. Did you hear any chance at an opening?
I mean, there are no negotiations happening, in large part because the House of Representatives isn't even here. They've been on an unprecedented 5-week recess because they do not.
Wait, I may be confused, but they can't just say we're going to lower insurance premiums and then that'll be the deal. I think if I'm not mistaken, there are situations that will happen with this bill that will increase the premiums. It's not like they could say, well, let's halt premiums and let's not raise premiums, but we're going to still pass this stuff. But we're not going to fund these insurance claims with federal money. We're not going to put these we're going to get rid of all these Democratic programs that fund these medical hospitals, and that's what's going to raise your premiums. Just like groceries. They said groceries would go down. Donald Trump signed a presidential order to lower grocery prices. Did it happen? No. That's all I'm saying. You can say what you're going to do, but the actions that cause it are still in place. The actions that cause groceries to rise, the actions that's going to cause healthcare to rise, those are going to be in place, and they won't stop it from rising.
Want to risk their billionaire tax cut. And they also don't want to talk about the president's lawlessness. I mean, that's the other thing that we have to talk about in this budget. If we're going to fund this administration, we need to fund an administration that is paying attention to the law. I would be a sucker, Margaret, to vote for a budget that allows the president to then go and spend money only in states that are run by Republicans and spend no money in states that are run by Democrats.
But this is just the 7-week deal that we're talking about at this point, the short-term
Correct. The
funding.
long-term budget that we pass ultimately has to require that the president not engage in mass-scale corruption. But a short-term agreement, certainly is not going to fix all of the problems that exist right now in the way the president is running the country.
At what point, though, does this?
He's right. Donald Trump said he's only going to fund Republican-ran states, red states. Remember that.
There is no win, there is no value, there is no savings by continuing this government shutdown. Let's just end it.
Senator, do you think there's a lack of trust between Democrats and Republicans right now?
Yes. We want to try to move appropriations bills through, right? But if you're a Democrat, you're looking at it and you're saying, why am I going to try to be helpful if Mr. a backdoor move and rescind what we've been working on. So yeah, there's a lack of trust. Does it make it harder to come to terms on hard things like a government shutdown? Absolutely.
Do you understand why Democrats are hesitant? I mean, what would your message?
Sure I do. Oh, sure I do. I mean, I look at that and I say, I see it. I see it. When we say that we have authorized, we have appropriated to, and then you have the administration come in and say, not on this one. And this is where I spoke out very strongly against this whole pocket rescission, because not only did the administration do it, but then they didn't give, they set it up in such a way that our hands were tied in being able to respond. So we're stuck with it. The appropriations process is being run over, and that to me is absolutely unacceptable. There is no win, there is no value.
I'm interested to hear deeper into this conversation, because she said some things. She said a lot of things without saying it, and Senator, is she a Democrat or a Republican? She's a Republican, the Senate's second most senior Republican woman, and she's saying, because she's saying a lot. She's saying that she didn't. Democrats and Republicans don't trust each other. They saying that they get everythin down, and then they want to backdoor. So Democrats don't want to do it because they know they're gonna backdoor whatever they put in, and the administration from the head, Trump, is tying their hands behind their backs and telling them, you need to vote with me. I told y'all, finally we got Republicans speaking out, and I told y'all why they wouldn't say nothing is because they were being held hostage by the administration. And if you're not a follower, if you're not a loyalist, you will be out of there. And that's why they shut it up, because once they start speaking, you start to hear the truth of what's going on. You start to hear the truth, and she's telling the truth. I'm telling y'all, that's why the Republicans were silent last week. Last week they were as quiet as a church mouse. Now all of a sudden they want to come out at Thursday and Friday, talking about we're here. It's two of y'all. We're here. We're ready to do this. Just sign this deal, sign this short-term spending, so we can get back to work. But that short-term spending would have walked its way into the long term and ultimately devastate millions of Americans with high health care. They slowly speaking out, and this is what y'all wanted to hear. Everybody's like, you only play Democrats. Well, here's a Republican, and she said exactly what I was thinking last week.
How does a mistake like this happen? Did the White House even talk to the CDC?
Well, so two responses to that, Margaret. First of all, I want to assure the American people that the frontline healthcare workers, the people who monitor measles, Ebola, and other infectious diseases, those people are still on the job, and we're trying very hard to figure out how to ensure those people get a paycheck, of course, because we want them to be happy and healthy. We want them to be able to do their jobs well. But the second point, Margaret, is the government shutdown inevitably leads to some chaos. We are figuring out how to take money from some areas and give it to other areas. That chaos is because Schumer and the far-left Democrats shut down the government. We have to remember, Margaret, that the vast majority of Republicans, and to their great credit, a number of moderate Democrats have consistently voted to reopen the government. But if Chuck Schumer and the far-left Senate Democrats are going to shut down the government, that is going to lead to some chaos. So you ask, how does this mistake happen? It happened because Chuck Schumer shut down the government, and we're trying to make sure that essential services still function in the face of that shutdown.
But that was a White House decision to lay off these individuals. You heard the president talking about that. That wasn't Chuck Schumer's decision. I understand your broader point on the negotiations, but the layoffs came from the president and the White House.
Well, But my point is, Margaret, that we have to do layoffs because we have to preserve necessary resources to do the most critical things that the government does. And in that phase, you're going to have some chaos. You're going to lay off people, frankly, Margaret, that the White House doesn't want to lay off. We would like to reopen the government and ensure these essential services stay on. But unfortunately, in an environment where we're dealing with limited resources, where the government is shut down, we've got to move some things around. And in that moving things around, there is some chaos, there is some unpredictability, but we're trying to do everything that we can with the hand of cards that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have dealt us. That's our solemn promise, and that's our duty to the American people. But there's going to be chaos. That's why we want to open the government. That's why we want the Democrats to accept that the government should be open.
Didn't they just give somebody $20 billion, like Argentina or something like that? Where is Argentina, South America? Like, what is going on? We ain't got no money. That's like that's like your cousin coming to borrow some money and then you see them out, you know, they supposed to been paid you back on Friday, but then you see them out at the club or, you know what I'm saying, taking pictures on the beach and be like, didn't you just borrow some money from me? You didn't pay me my $20 back, but here you are over here spending money with man, you better give me my money. That's crazy. I thought my sound was messed up, but actually it was his. But yeah, that's crazy. Y'all giving out money like that, but then I hate the blame game when nobody's in there. When y'all took the whole weekend off because we had a 3-day weekend. I didn't even know that it was Indigenous People Day, so I had no idea that they was gonna be taking off. Like, I knew everybody left office early on Friday, but I had no idea it was Indigenous People Day because you know what? They don't celebrate it as much as it was when it was Columbus Day, but they sure do take it off. They sure. I don't give a damn. Y'all should have been in office, Indigenous Day or not. Y'all should have been down there working on a solution because millions of American lives are at stake here, and y'all over here on vacation. I don't think people in government should be taking vacations on times like this.
Day and night. For some women, it can start working in as fast as 1 week.